Welcome back to another episode of the KarterKast. I'm your host, Karter Baughan. On today's show, NFL Week 8 recap. We talk about our biggest winners, our biggest losers, most important performance, and the fakest performance of the day. We talk about news and notes. We talk about the Bears losing on a Hail Mary to the Commanders, obviously. We talk about the 49ers and the Rams and what on earth is going on in the NFC West. We touch on everything in the NFL from NFL Week 8 on today's show. Download SeatGeek, use code KarterKast, $20 off your first purchase. Let's get into the show. We're live. Connor is not here. It's Dylan. It's Ben. It's the NFL recap show. We're recording later on than usual. We're not recording Sunday night. We actually got to watch Sunday Night Football for one of these for once. We're recording Monday afternoon right now. Dylan, NFL Week 8 in the rearview mirror. We're at the halfway point now.
Unwavering faith.
What?
Ultimate belief.
Huh?
I know this white guy from Detroit. Come on, are we not doing the Jameis bit? We're not doing the Jameis bit with the pregame interview. Am I the only one that saw that all over social media?
The post.
No, I saw it.
Okay, well, you guys looked at me like I was cross-eyed.
Do it for the decal on the helmet. Well, there isn't a decal on the helmet.
But you know what I mean. The name on the back of the jersey. Listen, a great week of football. We were just talking about it. Ben, I know you were locked in watching. I was locked in watching. Surely, Karter, you were locked in the whole day watching football, right?
I was locked in afterwards. I had to watch a lot of games on replay. Yep, I was at the Broncos game, unfortunately. Locked into Thursday Night Football, at the Thursday Night Football game too. But I did catch up. I watched as much as I could. You know what? I was going through. I DVR'd every single game on my Sunday ticket on YouTube TV. I was going through them. I started Titans Lions last night in the hotel room.
You watched that for about 10 minutes and then went to the next one.
Exactly. That's exactly what I did. Once the Lions hit 28, I said, okay, I don't need to watch that anymore. Let's go on to the next game. So we went through it the best we could. We did miss some things, so I'm going to put that out there as a caveat. So asterisks on me on this episode. But also, raise your hand if you hit your NFL parlay pick.
Connor's somewhere in Knoxville, Tennessee, raising his hand right now.
Ben should be raising his hand.
This is the third. Is this the third time I've blown it? The third time I've been the only one to lose the NFL pick?
You're not in sync. You know, this is going to be a horrific example, but let's get here. We need to get in sync, fellas. Like how women get in sync. You know?
Yeah, menstrual cycles.
Exactly.
Right.
I didn't want to say it, but you can say it. Yes.
What were you insinuating?
So instead of the menstrual strike, I can't even say that word. It's that bad.
It's okay.
I can't say the word, but we need to sync up. Not in our periods, but in our parlays. We got to learn to sync up, fellas.
Wow.
Yeah. So like I don't know if we need like low tide in the West or whatever we need. We need to somehow sync up on these parlays and start hitting a couple more of these.
So I did not raise my hand because I forgot and thought it was a certain backup pick that will not be said. I don't remember. It's a horrifying backup pick, but my Rams money line was. I felt good about that.
Wait a second. We need to go back and review the tape because
I already reviewed it.
You and Connor were very quick to throw away the Rams pick, and Ben, I went to bat for you, so I think my loss is negated because if it wasn't for that, the Rams wouldn't even have been in it, and I saved Ben from being another guy that lost on the parlay.
Let's say the Rams weren't in it. You still lost the parlay because 2 out of 3 would have hit.
But let's say a second pick was in it.
But we didn't allow
2 out of 4 still loser.
But the second pick didn't make it into the show in time, so it didn't count.
I'm just saying, I'm getting a lot of flack for missing the pick. Maybe we should focus on the positives. Oh, Dylan went to bat for Ben, who couldn't be there, just got married, missed the show, rightfully so. Dylan, what you do unto the least of them, you do unto me. I think that's red letters in the Bible. And that's what I was doing for Ben there. He wasn't able to be here. I stood up for him.
All right.
What you do unto the least of those, you do unto me. Red letters.
No more Pastor Dylan. Let's get into some football right now. Biggest winner of the week. I'll start with you, Ben.
I frankly hate to say it, but I think the Philadelphia Eagles were a big winner this week. I've been someone who's been a big doubter, but getting a big win against the Bengals, like it felt like they firmly put themselves back. I thought things were trending towards the season falling apart for them. frankly, and they had an emphatic win. That might say more about the Bengals defense than does the Eagles, but they've put themselves in a position to be 5-2. They're firmly in the playoff race. They're not a Super Bowl contender, but they can firmly get into the playoffs, and I think that's got to be a win for Philadelphia, especially considering where things were looking a few weeks ago. I am not saying that I'm pro-Eagles. Like, I'm not a fan of the Eagles. I don't love this team, but I thought that it was a massive step in the right direction.
Karter, looks like we both got some things to say.
You go first. You're the number one Eagles hater.
So, number one Eagles hater, right? They have played well against the Bengals, beat them by 20, and you can't point to anything and say this game was a fluke, right? But Ben, let me play devil's advocate with you here. We know the Bengals defense is bad. Ultimate get-right spot for the Eagles. Their offenses looked horrible. Time to get things on the right track, okay? Devil's advocate. Another piece of devil's advocate. The Bengals, with just Jamar Chase, very one-dimensional, no T. Higgins. I will give you the floor. Do you have any thoughts about that? Because I'm just saying this might be a bit more circumstantial than all the Eagles are back.
No, I mean, that's totally fair. And I'm not saying the Eagles are back. I'm just saying that was a game I anticipated them losing. And by winning it and putting them in 5-2, like, they are feeling way better. I'm not saying I personally am, okay, Eagles are winning the NFC East. They're winning playoff games. Like, but I think they firmly put themselves in a position in which they're not falling apart, where things were trending towards them falling apart. And I think they might have avoided that this week, and that makes them a winner in my eyes.
In favor of the Eagles here, Dylan, when they were at their worst this season, it was when they were unhealthy without their best weapons with A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. I need to get the stats department on it when they were actually playing and fully healthy and whatnot. But now that they're fully healthy, they're hitting their stride a little bit. Now it's been against, not great defenses, but they are hitting their stride a little bit, and they look like they might be back.
I will say, to not completely poo-poo on the Eagles, I saw 5-2, and I was like, wait a second, this Eagles team is 5. For some reason, I felt like they were 500 or worse, and I saw 5-2, and I was like, okay, they're not in as bad of a position as I thought. And you're right, they're fully healthy now. Things are getting better. I think I saw an offensive lineman went down. I can't remember who it was, and then their schedule coming up: Jags, Commanders in 2 weeks might end up being a little bit more difficult than we originally thought. But they got the Ravens on deck. You got the Steelers. A couple interesting games here. That is a win for the Eagles. I'll give you that, Ben. I won't push back too much. But asterisk, we know the Bengals defense is not that good.
Dylan, biggest winner.
Los Angeles Rams.
Yes.
You get your guys back. You beat a Vikings team that only had one loss. Primetime game. They game planned just about perfectly for this game because we talked about it. I wanted to go on the Rams. I wanted to take the Rams, but I said the matchup here bothers me. The offensive line isn't that great, and if Brian Flores decides to bring the house, they could be in some serious trouble. But the Rams game planned perfectly for the Vikings. 23 of their 33 pass attempts were between 0 and 19 air yards, 2.53 time to throw for Stafford. They were getting the ball out quick. They knew exactly what they were going up against. 126 of 279 passing yards were yards after catch, so short passes. When they did want to take the deep ball, Stafford was 7 for 11 for 114 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception on passes over 10 air yards. So things just worked perfectly for them. They find themselves a half game back of the division. Every team in that division is 4-4, except for the Rams, who are 4-3. Already having your bye might hurt them a little bit. But the Rams were the big winner here. They are in no way out of this. And if Kupp can stay healthy, if Puka can stay healthy, they have shown us what the offense looks like when they have all of the pieces available at their disposal. They're going to run Williams not into the ground, but they're going to run Williams as much as they can and then go over the top. Rams team, biggest winner.
Yeah, and also because all week we heard about the trade rumors. We even did it on the podcast. We're like, oh, trade rumor this, Kupp there. Who could Stafford leave and all this stuff. That stuff went out the window immediately. And I wonder if the Rams were leaking that kind of stuff all week just to get a little gamesmanship going. Just say, oh, Puka, he's not going to play. Who knows? Okay, he might be on a snap count sort of thing. Comes out, looks 100%. Looks like he hasn't missed a snap in 4 weeks. He looks 1,000. He was unbelievable in that game, over 100 yards. His prop was like 29.5 in that game. He looked awesome. Kupp did his job. Stafford was getting the ball out quick, like you said. That was such a big win for the Rams. They have the win over the Niners already. Right now, I'll ask you this. Right now, who would you take to win the NFC West?
I would say Cardinals have kind of surprised me too. I would have to say Rams if they can stay healthy. The only thing that goes against the Rams is they've already had their bye week. All three of the other teams in the NFC West have yet to have their bye week. That's the only thing that works against them. But the 49ers are banged up. The Seahawks we've already touched on do not look that great. We've already touched on previous shows. And the Cardinals are kind of like, what we still don't really know what we're getting. The defense isn't great. It's hard to doubt Matthew Stafford, just like he's been there before. He's grinded it out. I would say Rams.
I would still lean 49ers, but I don't feel great about it just because this team has been there before, and if they can get healthy by the end of the season, maybe make some trades before the deadline, I think the 49ers will be – they're going to be there no matter what, but I think they would still have to be the favorite. But I don't hate the Rams. I think they could easily win the NFC South right now. Ben?
No, I would be surprised if it isn't those two. I think a major – stock has gone down is the one team that can't do it in my mind is the Seahawks.
Yep.
This team cannot do it. They're falling apart. But what I'll say about the Rams is I don't think there's Matt Stafford. Like, it was just so obvious. He is great. Like, I'm not sure if there's many better quarterbacks at getting the ball out quick. And it just felt like very obvious to me that Matt Stafford was going to leverage what Brian Flores' tendencies are when calling a defense against them. We're seeing, especially with the Vikings, a lot of things with their defense are getting, I don't want to say exposed is a wrong word. You know what? Maybe exposed. I think people are the Lions and Rams have maybe found a recipe against them. But yeah, I think right now I'm going Rams in the NFC West just because the 49ers, although I am never going to discount them being able to make a run, make the playoffs, win the NFC West, even win a playoff game or two, I'm just not sure if this team has it. I'm just not sure if they really have the horses. They're aging. You have Brandon Ayuk who's out. Christian McCaffrey, just sort of the weirdness with his injury doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. I know they've opened his window, but I'm not sure if I'm feeling great about Christian McCaffrey and what he'll look like if and when he's back. I don't know. There's just there's something about the 49ers. Even they won against the Cowboys last night, but it wasn't like a super inspiring performance, especially with how Dallas has looked.
They had that game on lock, and they let Dallas back in that. Like, that is not reassuring if you're a 49ers fan. Real quick, I'll read off the odds. Seahawks 5-1, Rams 4-1 to win the division. Okay, let me do that again. NFC West odds to win the division. Seahawks 5-1, Rams 4-1, Cardinals plus 320, 49ers plus 110. So the Rams aren't even the second favorite to win. They're the third favorite to win it.
Yeah, I still don't believe in the Cardinals. I
can't either.
You know my theory about the Cardinals, too. They are just out to lose people money. That's all they're out to do. Because what was the tweet we kept seeing all Sunday morning before the games? We need the Vegas sportsbooks on their hands and knees begging for the Cardinals. Cardinals money line would make our day. Cardinals spread would just do everything for us. Oh, all this stuff. What happens? Cardinals somehow pull out a miraculous win against the Dolphins. I still can't believe in this Cardinals team. I would still have to go 49ers, then Rams, then Cardinals, then Seahawks. But that's enough talk about the NFC West. I guess, my biggest winner was the 49ers, actually, this weekend.
Really?
I had the Rams, but I went 49ers next. They had to win that game. The loser of that game is in absolute turmoil yesterday. They had to win that game yesterday, and I know it didn't look pretty. I know they let them back in that game, but the score lied. They were up 2-3 scores in the fourth quarter, and they let off the gas, and they were playing soft coverage in the fourth quarter, and CeeDee Lamb gets a couple garbage touchdowns at the end. The 49ers, that was a game they had to win. and they won it. That's why they're the biggest winner. I don't think it's the most important performance. That's who I have something different for later, but I think they are my biggest winner for me. What's your biggest loser, Dylan?
I had a couple. I had a couple written down. I really had to dig into the vault here. I put the Jacksonville Jaguars on late downs specifically. They killed themselves on late downs. They did absolutely nothing to help themselves. They couldn't capitalize when Malik Willis was in on defense. He had the Lawrence interception resulting in a touchdown. The Lawrence strip sack on third down, which is another late down casualty. Negative 1.16 EPA per play on late downs. Negative 0.77 on late rush. Negative 1.43 on late pass. Something that a little foreshadowing. I'm going to hint at this later in the show because one of my most important performances has to do with how another team performed on late downs. But you're a Jacksonville team. You have what? 2 wins, and you're looking at a scenario where you have to convert on these late downs, and they just aren't. This is a Packers team. Jordan Love was injured some of the game. You had Malik Willis. You have to capitalize on these opportunities, and they just didn't. Now you have Christian Kirk that's like out for the season with a broken collarbone, and you have I'm blanking, rookie wide receiver. Is it Robinson?
Brian Thomas?
I think that's it. Something like
the
that.
Jaguars?
From LSU, the big-bodied LSU receiver. He's a rookie.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's Brian Thomas.
Whatever his name is, TBD. Rib injury. He's going to be out 2 to 4 weeks. Like, your back's up against the wall here. You got to make things work. They had an opportunity to win this game against Green Bay. I would say Jacksonville probably outplayed Green Bay, and they lost. It was a game they had to win. So Jacksonville on late down, specifically biggest loser.
I'll go with my biggest loser, and I think, Ben, you probably have the exact same answer here. The New York Jets are done.
Ben, laugh, Ben.
They are deader than a dead dog, huh?
Oh, shoot.
They lost to Jacoby Brissett, the Patriots' backup quarterback.
You could argue they lost to 2 backup quarterbacks. Because Drake May was a backup at some time this year. They lost to 2 backup quarterbacks.
No, but they lost to the deepest quarterback room.
They did lose to the deepest quarterback room. All 3 timeouts in the first quarter.
I was going to say that.
It was Robert Saleh. It's his fault.
Yeah, I'm glad we got him out of there.
Yeah,
turn things around.
I thought, right? You have a lot of coordinators, right? Who they're good at being a coordinator. Right. And then it's like, okay, well, he has a really good defense. He has a really good offense. And we think, okay, that will make him a good head coach. When really that's just a different job entirely. And so that's been the case for Jeff Uldrich. But at the same time, like, he's failing at the management part of being a head coach. The defense has gotten far worse since Robert Saleh's been gone too. Like, I think Jeff Uldrich, right? This was an opportunity for him to parlay into either having a head coaching job with the Jets or somewhere else, or getting a good defensive coordinator landing spot if things were to blow up in New York. And he's the biggest loser in this because that's just, like, he didn't help himself on any front, on the head coaching front, on the defensive coordinator front, within the Jets organization, outside in the entirety of the NFL. That's not my loser, but he, I think, is the most negatively affected from the whole Jets situation right now.
I'm going to push back on that a little bit, because I think when you take a situation where you're losing, you start the year losing, and you fire your head coach, and you're still losing, I think that at least points to something other than it being a coaching issue. Like, it's no matter who you have in there, you fired your head coach, you're still losing. Maybe it's an issue that transcends who has the HC tag next to their name.
And I totally agree. I'm not blaming it on him. I'm just saying that this was maybe an opportunity in his mind, right, to be able to parlay this into a better situation, an upgrade, a promotion in his job long term. And I think it's really looking bad for him right now, as a coordinator and as a head coach.
Karter, this was your loser. I don't want to take your thunder, but I have one thing I want to say before we wrap up Jets talk. Oh, Dan Orlovsky, beautiful tweet this morning. I love these little tidbits. I shared it with you guys. Dan Orlovsky scored Okay, he did not score 21 points. This was the tweet that he put out. It says, scored 20-plus points, didn't turn the ball over, allowed fewer than 250 yards. In NFL history, teams are 750-1, including playoffs, when generating that box score. The only loss was the Jets yesterday. How crazy is that?
What was it? Was under 250 yards or allowed, and what was the other part of it?
Scored 20, right?
Scored 20-plus points.
Didn't turn it over.
And didn't turn it over.
And the last time that happened to a team was Aaron Rodgers with the Green Bay Packers.
I love it. Now, I will say, I'm Aaron Rodgers. I don't want to say hater, but doubter. This really wasn't on him. He had a great stat line. This loss wasn't on him either. Now he will make the excuse. You're running out of people to blame. You go get your wide receiver, and you're still losing games. But he did not play that bad yesterday. It was very much. I don't downgrade the Jets at all from this performance. It's a shocking result, but look, I don't. I'm sorry. Looking at the stats,
they're a kicker away from 500 too.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's fair, but at the same time, you just can't lose to a Patriots team that is actively tanking. You can't lose that game.
Yeah. It's right. It's not like loser because they like this or that XYZ. It's loser because all they said was, wait till Zach Wilson is not our quarterback. We're a quarterback away.
Yep.
They were not a quarterback away.
Nope, they were not. And who is your biggest loser, Ben?
Anthony Richardson in a 2-minute drill.
Hey, Ben,
it was brutal.
Why not Anthony Richardson in general?
Ben, come on.
But
cut him some slack. He was tired. He was tired.
That press conference, this felt like a little bit, it's not the same extent, right? Because the Jets are far different, but this felt like the Zach Wilson, like, do you think it's the offense's fault that you lost? Or do you want to apologize to the defense? No. Saying, well, I was tired, that felt like Anthony Richardson's version of that. Obviously not to the same extent, but just there's no timeouts. He's running towards the sideline and doesn't make an attempt to go out of bounds. So he's not aware of the situation. Then there's 10 seconds left. No timeouts. Throws a little dump off pass to the running back. They need 60 yards, like 60 or 70 yards. He gets like 10 or 15 yards. They're thankfully able to spike it with 1 second left. And then he pretty much takes a sack on the last play. Like, I think he, like, as he was falling down, threw the ball out. But by all indications, more or less took a sack. It's just like, you could not create like coaches should show quarterbacks that last 3 or 4 play sequence and go, this is how you do literally everything wrong in a 2-minute drill.
Yeah.
It's just, and I hate to say it, I've always been kind of a skeptic. He looked promising last year, but this is a guy where he just wasn't all that good at Florida. He showed a good arm, but like, I'm not sure if he was a very good quarterback at Florida. I just think this is another example where Anthony Richardson should not have been seen in NFL football field until year 3 or year 4. This was an obvious project, and his career is getting ruined. Largely his fault, but also he's another one of these examples we've talked about all year. He is not someone who should be starting year 1. He's not. Year 2, not even. He's like a year 3, year 4 guy.
And the other thing is the Texans keep getting out of these games alive somehow.
Oh my gosh. Listen, if we want to go ahead and parlay this into fakest performance, I had Texans all the way. Right. And they just go ahead.
I have a couple biggest losers I wanted to add real quick. I'll be brief about these.
Yeah.
I was just interested that nobody picked the Baltimore Ravens.
What are you supposed to do? You go against Jameis in his first game. You were going to lose that game.
Jameis
we all
on the
know
road.
that.
Yeah, you're Jameis on the road in October. You're losing that game.
Well,
you know how
that was in Cleveland.
It just, I just don't think that changes things.
Baltimore's on the road.
I don't know.
Okay.
Right? Maybe I'm being unfair, or maybe I'm like not giving them as much crap as I should. But it's just like, I feel like I know what the Ravens are. They have these each once in a while, especially an AFC North game on the road. Like, I'm just not going to ding them too much for this as long as they come back and win next week against
the
the
Broncos. And they were also supposed to have – they had this performance in the first half against Tampa Bay in the Monday night game, and then Mike Evans goes down and Chris Godwin goes down. My other biggest loser that I had on here as well is Baker Mayfield. Baker without Mike Evans is not a good quarterback.
I would go more Todd Bowles. I think Todd Bowles is a massive
We're blaming
loser.
this on Todd Bowles now.
Yes, because if you're a defensive head coach, the defense needs to be better.
Okay, but Baker has thrown, without Mike Evans, in 1.5 games, has thrown 4 interceptions.
Yeah. I can't argue too much with the Baker hate without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. His EPA numbers weren't bad yesterday, but his expected QBR was not great. And you're right, the turnover, like you're seeing the turnovers just rear its ugly head whenever he doesn't have these two guys catching the ball.
And in his defense, I make this defense for people all the time. In his defense, who is he throwing the ball to? These are not great receivers. It's K. Dotton on National Tight End Day, and that's it. That's all he can throw to. So in his defense, he doesn't really have a great receiver to throw to. It's kind of like how we saw Jalen Hurts without A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So I'm not knocking Baker that much, but I just want people to know if Baker doesn't have a Hall of Fame wide receiver, this is who he is. Because we've seen it in Cleveland. We saw it in Carolina. Saw a little bit of it in Los Angeles. And we're seeing it right now with the Buccaneers without Mike Evans.
I think it applies to a lot of quarterbacks, though. So I like...
Sure, but guys, if you're getting paid like Baker is, maybe you know he's just not in that same tier because you have guys like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. They're gonna make it work with whoever, but that's besides the point. That's a different conversation. Dylan, most important performance today, or do you want to do Fakest?
Let's go Fakest first. Parlay off the Anthony Richardson talk. The Houston Texans, they only won by 3. They were gifted a short field with 23 seconds left in the half because of that Anthony Richardson interception. Like, the Texans are a team we've talked about kind of with the Vikings that are just getting by the skin of their teeth, and it's just what it is.
Vikings aren't getting by the skin of their teeth, though. This is different. This is 2022 Viking stuff from the Houston Texans.
I wouldn't even go as far to say that. I wouldn't say it's that bad.
No, it's not. But it's in that same vein a little bit. You know, they're reaching that territory. If this continues for the next 4 or 5 weeks, but then they get exposed by, let's say, the Lions, then yeah, it is that same tier.
Yeah, and it's just an interesting situation with Houston. CJ Stroud doesn't really look like he did last year for the most part. He's not putting up those crazy numbers. Obviously, missing Nico Collins, Michigan man's going to hurt that. And then you have Stephon Diggs who goes out on a knee injury, no contact. I don't think we know exactly what happened there yet. He got testing done today. But I don't know when Collins is supposed to come back, but if you're missing Diggs and Collins, you're kind of up a creek. And the Texans are looking like a team that kind of squeaked by in a couple of these games. They may not be legitimate, and then you're missing your top 2 wide receivers. So I said Houston Texans.
And Dylan, they are a prime candidate to fade them week 1 of the playoffs.
Oh, yes. Because they're going to win the division more likely than not just by process of elimination.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, well, I feel like in the AFC, the division winners are like, you feel pretty good about who's going to win the division in all of the AFC divisions, except the North has 2 contenders. But
Rusty tonight, baby.
Yeah. No, but the Texans, like, I agree with that. I am not super impressed. I mean, people roll their eyes because they know that I'm a Lions fan on this program, but with that could be, man, they could get exposed there. They could. I think it's very possible.
Well, you look at the teams they've played against. Like, okay, I think the Bills game is a little bit of the outlier here because I feel like that game was just weird. Also, they let the Bills back into that game, so whatever. That first half was just a very strange game. But you look at these, they play the Vikings, they get demolished. They play the Packers, they lose to the Packers. All their other wins are extremely unimpressive, and Connor and I have banged this in nonstop. Pause. we have talked about this nonstop. The Texans just keep getting by, but we don't have to spend more time on them. Ben, fakest performance.
People are not going to like this one because it was one of the most exciting moments of the season, and I've been a defender of them amongst the KarterKast crew, but the fakest performance was the Washington Commanders yesterday.
Okay.
All right. Make your point.
My point is, situationally, yeah, the defense looked a lot better, but when they play real offenses that have NFL quality offensive linemen, they're not going to be able to have that same success. They're relying, although the Bears do have a pretty good defense, this is a Commanders team that was able to put up a lot of yards. They were able to move the ball at will, but just failed when it came to punching the ball in for touchdowns. Settling for field goals, that felt like, I'm not saying they're a fake team, but I think the Commanders, there's some issues there. They feel like fun team that makes the playoffs, maybe wins a game, but I think the record at the end of the day, at the end of the season, is going to look really good and it's going to be deceiving.
Okay, so a couple points here. I watched this game on replay, so I knew the result going in. I didn't get to watch this game live. I watched this game on replay. The Commanders were the better team by far in this game.
Yes, counterpoint, the Bears suck.
Carter, you hit your point home.
Well, I don't think the Bears are necessarily horrifically bad. That's the difference. Like, when we're talking about, okay, you beat the Raiders, congratulations. You want a cookie? Like, what are we doing?
No, for sure.
But, well, okay, Dylan, go ahead.
No, it's just funny. It's funny what you said. You want a cookie? Yeah, I want a cookie. I'm 250 pounds. I want a cookie.
Yeah, pretty good. Anyhow, but yeah, I don't think. Now, the result was a little fluky, obviously, but I think the result was fair based on watching the game, on how it went, how they kept dominating. But yeah, you did mention it, Ben. The red zone stuff was very concerning. The fact that you have 4 field goals is a concern. Punch that ball in.
Show of hands. Raise your hand if you have voiced any concerns about the Commanders' offense this year. Offense. The point of this extra.
I think all
can I raise my hand if I did it 2 minutes ago for the first time?
No, keep your hand down. The point that I'm making is I don't think any of us have ever questioned the Commanders' offense, right? I think maybe at the beginning of the year, not knowing about Jane Daniels, but once Jane Daniels showed us what he is, it's really hard. You can't say anything bad about this Commanders' offense for the most part. You could say red zone issues, but I am a believer in this Bears defense specifically, not the offense. The offense is awful. And the one thing that I get hung up with on the Commanders is, how are they going to perform when they play a good offense? And guys, looking at their schedule, they don't really have to until week 17 against the Falcons. You're looking at Giants, Steelers, little asterisk there. I'm going to say good offense, but some haters might say asterisk. Eagles, Cowboys, Titans, yikes, Saints, Eagles again. And then you have the Falcons week 17. And that's really the only, what I would consider high-powered offense left on that schedule. So I do have concerns about the Commanders' defense. I don't think it's going to matter because they don't play a good offense until, in my opinion, week 17. This is a team that I would have never thought would have had this success, and the only worry I have about them will not be tested until the second to last week of the season.
I have a vision.
Okay.
I've seen a vision. I close my eyes and I see a divisional round Commanders home game. Hype that hasn't been seen in Washington, D.C. since Robert Griffin III. And Jordan Love comes in, throws for 400 yards and beats them.
Oh, no.
Do you see it?
I see
that.
I see it. Gross uniform game.
I see that. That's a vibes thing for me. But I see that vision, and I can't unsee that vision.
I don't hate that pick at all. I
don't
hate
that
at all.
Clip it, put it in the bookmarks. We're going to need that come January.
If that happens, you got to bring that back.
And the caption of the video will be, "A Mormon has a vision." How about that? My fakest performance. Yeah. My fakest performance. It's the easiest pick every week, guys. You gift wrap it to me every single week. Who plays the Panthers? That's your fakest performance of the week. It was the Denver Broncos. That's the fakest performance. What are we doing here, guys? My favorite thing in the world is, one, every single fan base thinks their quarterback is a franchise player. They should get whatever they want. They're going to win the Super Bowl after they play the Carolina Panthers, who are historically one of the worst defenses in NFL history when it's going to be all said and done this season. Second of all, I loved all these tweets yesterday. Bo Nix has arrived. Bo Nix is the guy. Bo Nix this. Every Broncos fan that I sat next to at the game was this Bo Nix guy. Oh my goodness, we got to steal in him. He is unbelievable. They played the Carolina Panthers. What are we doing here? Do you also want a cookie? You don't even get a cookie for beating the Carolina Panthers. You just go away. Like, what are we doing here? You beat the Carolina Panthers. This is a horrific team. And honestly, I mean, obviously I was at the game, so obviously super locked in. I wasn't even impressed with Bo Nix. I think the Broncos have extreme issues. I think they are the fakest team right now. They are below the Bears for me because I think the Bears offense does have some untapped potential. I don't think this Broncos offense has any untapped potential. Their weapons are so bad. The weapons are horrific on this team. Who are they throwing to at wide receiver? Cortland Sutton? Fine. Fine wide receiver too. That's it on that team. The running backs right now. Javonte Williams is not a good running back. He is a third down back in my mind. Jaleel McLaughlin, fine, okay. He doesn't do anything for you. And then Audric Estime, rookie, can't really put too much stock into him. So Broncos clearing away fakest team. And I don't think we'll be doing the Panthers as my fakest team on next week recap because they play the Saints. I think that is the two polar footballs this season, unless we got to see our two teams, Dylan.
The scuttlebutt, word on the street is Derek Carr's going to be back. Could be back.
Oh, this is a cook sesh. This is Saints are the fakest team. Just book it right now.
So, Saints might be most impressive performance.
You can't be the most impressive performance when you play against the worst team in NFL history.
That's fair. Let me make a point real quick about the Broncos. They're currently at 5-3. I don't think anybody would have expected that they would have that record through week 8. They're in for the gauntlet, boys. The next 3 weeks are brutal. At Ravens, at Chiefs, home against the Falcons. Like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do here? That's 3 losses there. Then you have the rest of the schedule is not too bad. At Bengals and then the Chiefs again. But, I mean, yeah, it's not looking great for the Broncos. I am a believer in the defense. But
the defense
is
for real. The defense is for real. That offense, Bo Nix is not a good quarterback. I will stand by that. We did this song and dance. We just talked about the Bears. Dylan, you're like, this offense, they stink. We did this song and dance a couple weeks ago when the Bears played the Panthers. Everyone's all of a sudden like, Caleb Williams, this guy's putting up big yards. Ooh, we like what we see here. He can do, 300 yards from Caleb Williams. Oh, we haven't seen this since Jay Cutler. Oh, the Bears have their quarterback. What happened when he played against a competent NFL team? He stinks against them right now. Go ahead, Ben.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I don't mean to spoil this week's parlay pick, but I may or may not be going with a AFC contender coming off a bad loss that hosts the Broncos this Sunday. I may or may not be doing that. Again, I'm not saying that that's my parlay pick. I'm not saying that.
We still have time.
I'm glad you cleared that up. I'm glad you cleared that up, Ben, for all the listeners. I'm serious. We can't be leaking parlay picks.
Yeah, we can't. If you leak them, I already have my parlay pick this week too. We could probably pick this thing right now. Should we do an early kickoff parlay?
Look ahead parlay. Last thing we need is another unit loss.
Yeah, that's true. Dylan, most important performance.
I got 2. I have a funny one and I have a serious one. I'll go serious one. Kansas City on late downs. We talk about Patrick Mahomes not having a Patrick Mahomes-esque year and the Chiefs still being undefeated. You have Rashee Rice that goes out, and even before they got DeAndre Hopkins, it's really just plug and play. Everything works. And part of that's a testament to coaching, and I think another thing that is a testament to coaching is how well you do on late downs. The second best team this year on late downs, second to the Washington Commanders, actually. They just looked amazing on late downs this past week against the Raiders. Now, the Raiders did cover. Number 1 rule, fade the Chiefs is more than a field goal favorite. But they look so great and so efficient when their backs are up against the wall. They need to convert, whether it's third down or fourth down. And I think the recipe for success here, personal plug, go check out my post because I highlighted a couple teams that do well on third down, but they also aren't on third down that often. They're the team with the fourth least third and fourth downs in the NFL. And when they do face them, they just perform so well. So I'm going Kansas City on late downs for the most important performance because that's going to be instrumental throughout the course of the year. My fun one, Atlanta sweeping Tampa Bay. I mean, that locks up the division, essentially. There's no other contenders. You know what a wise man once said, Karter, Ben? Walk into your trap, take over your trap. Kirk Cousins.
I had the Falcons as my most important performance of the day. It was, I mean, the division's over. They don't have to play football there. They could play Penix the rest of this year.
They're 4-0 in the division right now, and they play the two easiest teams left.
And nobody else is going to sniff them because the Saints, you lose 7 in a row, you're cooked. The Panthers, we already talked about them. We don't need to spend another second on that team. And
did
then
you say play Penix the rest of the year? I missed that. Yeah. Did you say play Penix the rest of the year?
Yeah, bench Kirk, keep him healthy for the playoffs. You can play Penix the rest of the season.
A little lefty action.
Ooh. I don't like left-handed quarterbacks. That's just I don't know. They don't do it for me. No. Ben, most important performance.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say the Falcons just because you're going up 2-0 against the Bucs, who are the main competition in the NFC South. I know that Baker was without Chris Godwin, without Mike Evans, that the Buccaneers defense is struggling as of late, but that was just a situation on the road, divisional opponent. You just need to win. You just need to have a 2-0 record against the other NFC South contender this year, and the Falcons did that. They're in the driver's seat, and although there's a long way to go, a lot could change, a lot could happen. I'd frankly be shocked if the Atlanta Falcons aren't winning the NFC South at this stage.
Yep, 100%. Other thing I wanted to touch on real quick. Oh, other thing I had written down, we don't need to spend more time on this or anything, but Sean Payton saying the Panthers stink. Didn't like that.
Oh, that was awesome. That was awesome stuff from Sean Payton. Well, let's be honest, they're not a good offense. You don't need to say it. Well, sure you did. What was the question that what was asked? I can't remember.
How impressed were you with the defense today?
Yeah, he's gassing up his defense. He's like,
no, he's not.
Well, given that the offense, what was his exact quote? The worst offense in professional football?
No, he said this is just not a good offense.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't like him saying that because Bryce Young threw for over 200 yards. So
that first drive, that was MVP level stuff.
That was electric. Having Xavier Legette first touchdown. So I flew back from Denver this morning. I went to the game, flew back from Denver. On the flight attendant comes up to me and goes, "I'm sorry." I go, "What are you sorry for?" I was wearing a Panthers hoodie. She goes, "I'm sorry." I said, "Yeah, it's bad." So the flight attendant had to send her condolences to me. That's how bad my football team is. And
that's not what you wanted. That's not what you want to hear on a plane.
No, absolutely not. That's when you say, Karter, we're bombing this season. We've bombed this season already, and we're looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
Did she give you an extra Biscoff cookie for your troubles? Did she feel bad for you? Say, hey, here's another ginger ale.
We were flying. I was on a Southwest flight, so it was Teddy Grahams or whatever that thing is. Those are kind of nice.
Airplane snacks might be a draft that comes up in July.
Because I think Teddy Grahams, I think those Southwest Teddy Grahams might be 1-1 on my board. But anyhow, besides the point, they're good. They're good.
No, it's Biscoff. It's Biscoff.
Yeah, Delta's Biscoff.
Have you had the Teddy Grahams though lately? They're good.
Ben, let's be honest. We're not flying Southwest. We're flying Delta.
Of course.
Yeah, Ben.
No, I'm a big South. I'm also a Southwest guy.
Ben married into
Delta.
Southwest. So.
Yeah, Delta and Southwest are my favorites.
But anyhow, Dylan, last thing about crappy teams. How does it feel that we support the two worst teams in the NFL? We're bad.
We don't have our starting quarterback, so it's
neither do we. So we're good.
Yeah. So it's like kind of, when the NFL playoff committee gathers and they decide who's going to be in the playoff, it's like, we have to assess these teams at their current state. Will Levis will be back, and we'll have an assessment then.
Other things.
Loser should have been Titan special teams,
or just the Titans in general. It should have been.
That's true.
Should have been the entire.
Outgain the Lions.
That's true. Lions stink. That's what I've been told. Other stuff real quick. Chiefs, obviously we talked about them to barely go over. The Raiders, don't need to touch on that. Bills whoop the Seahawks. I mean, they whooped them.
Seahawks fighting on the sidelines with each other too. You see that little scuffle? I couldn't pick out who it was, but they were pushing and shoving each other on the sideline.
They were the easiest fraud team of the year after week 3.
Saints, let's settle down.
Someone here took Saints plus 7.5 for the parlay.
I didn't know I was getting Jake Hayner.
That would have been way better.
You're right. He looked a lot better than Spencer Rattler did.
So much better. I think that's it. I think that's all I had for that stuff. I mean, we could do some news and notes if you want.
I got a couple notes we can power through. There's a couple lighthearted things. Trayvon Diggs tells the reporter, "Talk about D's nuts." You can make a D's nuts joke if you're a professional athlete, right?
Can you make a D's nuts joke after a loss? I don't know.
But it almost means more after a loss. Like if you do after you win, it's like, oh, he's just joking around. What a funny guy.
It was sincere. It was a sincere D's nuts.
Yeah, it was like a harsh one. Like, but D's nuts.
My only critique is he didn't set up the reporter like, what'd you think of San Francisco? What'd you think of San Francisco's D or something like that? And the reporter would be like, San Francisco's D, and then he says D's nuts. So it was just kind of like talk about D's nuts and not setting up the joke.
Yeah, and also if a guy goes in after a win and does a D's nuts joke, it feels like it's just athlete funny. It's not actually genuinely funny.
Yeah.
Like, that's something JJ Watt would do. Like, D's nuts joke. Okay, JJ.
Yeah, and the reporter's like, dude, do you want to talk about this? And Trayvon Diggs should have been like, yeah, we can go talk about it in room 40.
Yeah.
It'd be like
room 40.
Room 40. Room 40's nuts. See, that was a missed opportunity. I wish he went down that route.
I'm hoping Diggs watches some game film and he's better equipped for the Cowboys' next loss.
Oh, I had another biggest loser of the week. Watching football in person, I hate it.
Oh, it's awful. I almost went to the Lions game. Think about that. It's a 3-hour drive for me.
Yeah, no, I flew to Denver. I got on a plane and watched this Carolina, and it's not even because a good team, bad team, whatever. I don't care. That's regardless of the point. I go to all the BYU games and everything, but these timeouts are out of control. I know I'm sounding like an old white man yelling at a cloud. These timeouts are out of control right now if you go to a game.
How about halftime? Halftime, oh my gosh, it feels like forever.
That's one time out. That feels like one time out. If they get a TV timeout, let's say it's the end of the third quarter, you get that timeout. That's like 3 minutes. Then they score a touchdown or score. Then they do a TV timeout before that, and then they get the kickoff and it goes down. And there's a TV timeout right there. That's a halftime right there. We're getting multiple halftimes. It's insane. All the players are just standing around, just waiting, watching the clock tick down until the commercial break ends. It's awful. It's awful. And also you're uncomfortable. In college, you're having to sit on bleachers half the time. No, just put me in. I just want to watch it on TV.
Put me in my recliner.
Yep. Get me home. Put it on my TV. Other thing I had, Dwayne Wade statue, not football related, but holy crap, that's funny.
Didn't he say something in his speech that doesn't even look like him? It was like in jest. It was a bit of a joke, but when he gave his speech, he said, what was it?
If you build that statue and you put it there, at what point do you just hit cancel on the order? Like you know when you get you order something, you're like, oh, it's got pickles on it or something, and you're like, I didn't want pickles on it, and you're just like, it's a McDouble, whatever, throw it away or something. Amazon
free return type deal. Can we consider the fact that maybe they made it so poor on purpose, so the social media reacts to it, and then they go can you make revisions to a statue? Can you redo I'm fairly certain you have to be able to redo a statue.
Or maybe it's like a cheap fake that they put out that just to be funny.
Yeah. Maybe it's a social media ploy, build up hype.
That was hilariously bad. We got the Ronaldo one, we got the Wade one. There's so many bad statues out there. Do you have any other news and notes, Dylan?
Yeah. Bears 29 taunting the Washington fans before the Hail Mary. Oh, yeah. Awful look. I mean, what are we doing here, Bears fans?
If someone did that, if a Michigan or a Titans player did that on your team, would you want them excommunicated from the team? I mean, immediate gone. That is the most anti-Dylan thing you could ever do. Maybe commit a penalty on the play at the same time.
Yeah, can we be honest? Honesty hour. Does it really change the outcome? No. Like, that was such a fluky play that him doing that, it's a bad look, but it doesn't put the Bears or the Commanders at any advantage there, in my opinion, from what I saw. So it doesn't bother me there, but I mean, oh my gosh, how dumb was that? Like, just wait till the clock hits 0. That's one thing we learned about being gamblers and Just wait till the clock hits 0 before you say anything.
Yeah, 100%.
I do want to bring up this point. Is this the year for Hail Marys? I feel like Rodgers has had 2 that have been successful in the end zone. You have this one that was successful. I feel like we're going Hail Marys left and right this year. Am I wrong?
I was trying to make a Hail Mary joke, and but I couldn't. It didn't flow. I'm sorry.
Good call. Good call. We'll power through some of these that I had written down. I'm starting to take notes of those things if they happen through the week because I always feel so dumb when I forget them. Bosa crashing the post game with a MAGA hat. What happened to the last 49er that made a political stance? Bosa getting traded? Bosa getting excommunicated from the league? Any comment?
Keep politics out of sports.
Deal. Bears pitch to the offensive lineman on the goal line. That is the perfect example of a genius move if it works, and it's the perfect candidate for hindsight bias. Everybody thinks it was the dumbest thing to do, but if it worked, everybody was going to say, oh, well, how smart was that play? Any thoughts there?
No.
No, okay. It's the I do have a thought. It's the that meme where it's just like empowering, and then it's like the fat guy. It's like the Lions doing it versus the Bears doing it.
Oh, the HR.
Yes,
the HR.
HR. Yes. Or like the McDonald's worker where it's like empowering and she's just like has her head up, like that meme. Yeah, but I mean also the Lions do it and it works and they win a lot of games and yeah, the Bears no comment.
I am going to make a note. I got to get that meme out from the KarterKast social. I'm going to make that right after this. J.C. Horn chirping Sean Payton for trying to run the score up, running a fake field goal down or up 28-7. Karter, we have man on the street here. What do we think?
2 things. 1, I like J.C. Horn actually cares about football still because it's very easy to not care about football on this Carolina Panthers team. 2, that's soft. Dude, they can do whatever they want on you. I don't know why teams have to run out the clock in basketball. Let them shoot. Who cares? I don't understand why we do this. Let them shoot. You're losing. That's your fault. Why are you getting mad when you're down 14? Fix that on the field. That's your fault.
Last thing I want to talk about. I want to reel back a take, and I want to say, Karter, you're right. We did not talk about the Cleveland Browns that much, and I rolled out a take a few weeks ago before Deshaun Watson had his injury, and I said, Is Deshaun Watson the issue in Cleveland? Because there are a lot of things going wrong for the Browns other than quarterback play. This week, and Karter, what was I met with when I rose that? What did you say? Do you remember?
I don't remember at all.
You said the guys want to play for somebody. They mesh together. If they don't want to play for Deshaun Watson, they're not bought in. But a guy like Jameis comes in, everybody meshes together, right? And I said, Karter, you're crazy. You know how much I don't believe in things if they're not backed by data for the most part in sport. This game against the Baltimore Ravens, the Cleveland Browns' best receiving grade, their best run grade, their best run block grade, their best pass block grade all year. And it's not like they went from playing super tough teams at the beginning of the year to playing Titans, Panthers, whatever. This is the toughest game they played this year. They put up their best grades of the season. Karter, I think you were right. These guys want to play for Jameis. Hand up, I was wrong.
So the dog factor has to be put into the KarterKast sports betting model then.
I don't know about dog. I would say decent human being factor. Decent, like not committing crimes factor. Well, he did steal crabs. He stole crab legs in college.
You're right. I was going to say, let's retract that statement.
Yeah, my mom will retract that.
Unwavering faith, ultimate belief.
Other news and
as the white boy up in Detroit said.
Other news and notes I had. I wanted to do this is not basketball, or this is not football, but basketball related. I wanted to do an Intuit Dome reaction, but
yes, you talked about this.
I did. I don't have the same FU about it as I did before.
It was in the moment.
It was more in the moment, but also my brother put it perfectly. The going to the Intuit Dome as a non-season ticket holder is like having a digital colonoscopy. It is a nightmare getting in there. Yes, you heard me right.
Do they have clear? Like some stadiums have.
Yes, they have clear at their stadium.
Get clear.
They have no. Listen to me. If you're my whole thought process through this was, imagine if you're a 50-year-old person trying to go to this game. You have to buy your tickets on Ticketmaster. Then you have to get them on the Intuit app. And then on the Intuit app, you have to have a Game Face ID. Then you have to fill out all your information where they steal all your data probably. You have to fill out address, email, all that stuff. Then you have to have an identity piece on there as well. So then you got to fill out another thing. You got to transfer both of those things over to your Apple Wallet along with the tickets and everything. And then all the guests that you're going to the game with also have to have a wristband with an identity pass filled out, and you have to fill it out for them too. So then you have to fill out all this information just so they can steal your information. You know, Steve Ballmer just stealing your information. All right, that's it from us. Download SeatGeek, use code KarterKast, $20 off your first purchase. At BD Hammond 28, at Wilkerson A. Dillon, at Karter BA, at KarterKast on all socials. Keep hitting that subscribe button. Dylan, this football season has been phenomenal for the socials.
It's been TikTok has seen the best of it. We've gotten like 1,700 followers on TikTok. Twitter's 3 times the amount of followers on X. Subscribers have been great.
Double on YouTube.
Yep, it's been awesome. Good stuff. And we're going to keep it. We're halfway through the season. And I'll cut a promo. You're going to want to tune into the college football show. You're going to want to tune into the college football show.
I assume you're going to want to
say.
I was gonna say you got to tune into the college football show. Make sure to subscribe. Ben, I know Dylan's going to hate this. We've got a little college basketball preview coming out very, very soon.
Ooh, that college basketball preview is going to be long.
If you listen to the Joe Rogan Donald Trump podcast, this one's going to be longer. This one's going to be a lot longer. Yeah, we might. This might be a 3.5 hour podcast. Who knows what's going to happen? It's probably going to end up us two on a couch and talking ball. Pause.
Yep. It'll be a good time. It'll end up if we're recreating the Joe Rogan Donald Trump will be like, I'll be sitting there doing the hands being like, Tony Bennett quit. Virginia is screwed.
Bobby Hurley, he's stupid. This guy
can't coach.
But anyhow, all right, this is going off the rails. So make sure to subscribe to the KarterKast. Dylan is in outer space right now in the metaverse, and that means we need to get wrapping up here. All right, we'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.